the time has come to put together the dressing. I'm gonna make my dressing mix today and refrigerate it overnight because the longer those flavors can mix together, the better it is. I have crumbled a little bit of leftover cornbread and 2 biscuits into my bowl. I'm going to crumble one more biscuit. They're small, they're kind of thin. They're homemade buttermilk biscuits. But, and they're a couple of days old, so they're a little on the tough side. A lot of people actually set their cornbread out overnight and let it kind of dry out some. I've never done that. I'm not a fan of leaving things uncovered overnight, but I am going to start crumbling this beauty. I really could just eat it. Well, not the whole thing, of course, but I don't go by a recipe with cornbread. I mean, with dressing, I don't measure anything. I think my husband is coming from the basement. If you hear basement noises, that is why. But cornbread can be done a lot of different ways. Some people love sage and some people don't. Poultry seasoning has some sage in it. You could just use poultry seasoning and have a little bit of sage, but could have sworn I heard him coming up here. Maybe not. Also, a lot of people say that your cornbread has to be really fine. I disagree. I'm going to be making it kind of soggy with broth and soup, so I don't really think that it's necessary because it's all going to soak up that liquid and get all mixed together. I don't leave like big hunks in it by any means, but I don't think it all has to be sandy. I'm just going to break this up. And I've got sage and poultry seasoning out. I have a can of cream of chicken soup opened. I have a thing of chicken broth. And usually I cut up my onions and celery pretty small. And I either saute them in butter or I boil them for a little bit in chicken broth until they get transparent. Because I don't want any chunks of celery and onion. And when I was a child, I didn't like chunks of onion in anything. And my mama would make a little pan of dressing with no onion. And she would make a little container of potato salad with no onion for just me, because I was spoiled rotten like that. I have always been spoiled. My husband has continued the tradition. He loves to tell me I'm spoiled. But I also will say, I admit that I'm spoiled, but I'm not unkind. So, crumbling some cornbread for dressing. I'm making a video. I'm making dressing. Dressing is probably my favorite food. When my nephew was about 4, we were at the table one Thanksgiving, and he had been finished for a good bit, and I was probably on my 4th helping of dressing. And he said, "Nindy, will you come in here and watch a video with me?" And I said, "I'm eating dressing." And he put his little hand on his hip and said, "Well, don't you think you've had enough to eat?" He wasn't wrong. It was so funny. All right. Anyway, I was saying a minute ago that I usually saute or boil my onion and celery so they'll be soft even before the dressing bakes. But I saw a video this week of Mama Sue, and she put hers in like a little chopper. So that's what I did. I put 2 stalks of celery and half a large onion in a chopper, and it pulverized those things. So I'm about to put those in here. It looks like something sweet, like something lime, but it's just celery and onion. And I don't have any big chunks. That's awesome. I've got some tiny pieces, but mostly indistinguishable pulp. And I believe that it will get done baking tomorrow, or in the morning. So that's the celery and onion. I'm gonna set off my hands real quick. Get me a spoon. I'm going to put 1 can of cream of chicken soup in here, and I don't want to leave any flavor behind. I want it all. Some people just use broth and not cream of chicken soup, but cream of chicken soup is extra chicken flavor. And I don't cook a turkey to have that rich baked broth. So my mama always baked a turkey, and she used that turkey broth in her dressing. And usually she wouldn't have enough broth after baking a turkey. What she had was rich, but it wasn't a lot. I'm not gonna use 48 ounces of chicken broth, but I'm gonna kind of play it by ear. So I've opened the chicken broth. I am going to put maybe a tablespoon of poultry seasoning, maybe a couple tablespoons of sage, because that's about how I roll. I am going to put chicken broth in here. I'm going to say probably at least half of it. And then I'm gonna mix and see where we are. I have never baked a turkey. I usually don't put meat in my dressing. I have occasionally put canned chicken breast meat in dressing if I like making it not for the holidays, just putting it on my family's table. But this is not enough liquid, so I'm gonna keep adding broth. I make it almost soupy because overnight the cornbread will keep absorbing liquid. And at some point before I bake, I will taste of it and make sure that it has what it needs before I put my eggs in it. I don't taste of it after I put raw eggs in it. It's getting wetter, but it's not soupy. A lot of people toast just regular sandwich bread and put that in their dressing. I've done that before. I've actually used a crock pot recipe before that called for a good bit, and like 5 eggs, 4 eggs, something like that. And I was like calling my sister saying, are you sure this is right? I mean, it wasn't her recipe, but I think she had used it before. I think this looks like it could use a little more sage, not a whole lot. I don't want it green looking, but still not soupy. I would always rather make more dressing than I need than to take a chance on not having enough. That little lump was staying together, but it was an edge, crispy edge. So I am gonna do a little taste test, and then I'm gonna put this in the fridge for a while. And I may even add some liquid in a little while. It's kind of a batter. It's not really soupy yet, but it's getting there. And since I used that extra cornbread, I probably am gonna need more of this than I thought, which is fine. I've even got more if I need it, but I don't think I will need more than this. Dressing is a process, and I know that there are recipes out there. If you feel better using a recipe, that's totally fine. I don't like to use a recipe. I just like to kind of feel my way through it. I'm gonna taste of this, and I'm gonna put this spoon in the sink because I'm not gonna stick it back in here after a taste of it. If I need something else, I'll get a clean spoon. It could use some sage, but I think that's all. I love, love, love it. I don't really like to have dressing that looks green because it's got so much sage in it. And I will probably add an egg or 2. I won't use more than 2 for sure. This is a big batch of dressing. I usually only use 1, but I usually don't make quite this much. So that onion is strong, but it's because it's raw. When it cooks, it'll fade out some. Can you see that texture? I can tell already I will put more broth in it in a little while. But I'm gonna find my big lid and I'm gonna put this in the fridge. All right, I've decided to just put 1 egg in here, even though it's a lot. I don't want it to be solid. I want it to be more like a casserole. Because that's the way Mama's was. She only put 1 egg in hers, I'm pretty sure. I am 99% sure she only put 1 egg in it. She did boil eggs and put them in her giblet gravy. I have never made giblet gravy. I like gravy, and I would eat her giblet gravy, but I don't really like the giblets from there. I did end up using all of that broth yesterday or last night, and I'm just incorporating the egg into the whole batter. I do not grease my casserole dish for dressing. Maybe I should. I might at least butter it. It usually comes out fine, but I'll butter it just in case. I've been talking really quietly because my people are in the bed. But I've heard somebody up in the last little bit. I don't want this to be too full because I don't want it overflowing in the oven. I am going to stop right there and put the rest of this in a different dish. Any, mini, money, mo. I don't know which one to use. I'm gonna go with the smaller one. I'm just rinsing my dish and drying it because I had not done that. I use that dish more often than I use this dish. Thanksgiving's always been one of my favorite days because I love to gather with family. And sadly, taking hormone blockers has affected my sanity. And I get a little anxious when I gather with people. I'm not anxious in my classroom because my kids work quietly most of the time. I don't know why it is when everybody's talking and laughing and I don't know. I just get a little nervous. I usually get a scraper out, but I think I've gotten this out pretty well with a spoon, a little noisily. Now those are ready for the oven. Alrighty, y'all, the dressing is done. Isn't she a beauty?